Hi, welcome to KC Talks. We're doing an exclusive podcast with Dr. Sahadeva Swami on Zomato and pure vegetarian controversy. Many people have many ideas, but I want to understand how does this have any good or bad implications from a spiritual standpoint. Hare Krishna Swami.
Hare Krishna.
From a secular country like India and from a liberal generation of mine, very tough to accept a decision that that a vegetarian food will be delivered from a pure vegetarian restaurant and it will be placed in a green box. That box would have never delivered a non-vegetarian food in it. So where are we heading? Are we heading 100 years back? A discrimination with vegetarian place, non-vegetarian place, vegetarian house, non-vegetarian house. So where is all this taking ahead?
So basically the concern is, are we reintroducing untouchability and food divide in the country?
Definitely food divide in the country.
So there is, then why nobody is, all these leaders, why they are not talking that when they have this discrimination over halal, and halal doesn't divide the country. I want to show you something. When there was a decision by Middle Eastern countries to ban Indian sugar over halal, because sugar traditionally used bone charcoal, bovine of bovine origin, bone charcoals. So there was a decision to ban Indian sugar. There was, I'll give you reference here. I have it in my hands here now. That Indian sugar is not halal. Of course, now I think now sugar manufacturers have found an earlier juice has to flow over the bone charcoals. So I have it right here by Reuters, dated March 6, 2012. Burnt bone-free halal sugar heads to Middle East. Finally, they found a solution for countries supplying, sugar where they are not using bone charcoal, because those bones, they are not sure whether comes from, cattle which are slaughtered halal or haram, whatever. So now when such things happen, there are no comments. So now I'll come to your question. To answer your question, that there is divide. You cannot avoid divide. There are distinctions. There is nothing is one in this world. There are separations. There are two. We are talking of different universes. The potato and a chicken, they are different universes. So divide is there. And now from health point of view, from ethics point of view, from spiritual point of, from scientific point of view, there is a divide. Like an vegetarian, herbivore animal and carnivore, they are universes apart. So there is a divide. There is a food divide. And when you talk of touchability, the concern now, I heard a big leader claiming that we are bringing untouchability when we don't want to touch those, don't want to, vegetarian meals won't be carried in boxes where the non-vegetarian food have been carried before. Is that the idea, right?
That's also one weird thing.
Yeah.
For us, it is a weird thing. Maybe I know what are you trying to bring in this podcast. But the second thing is, any restaurant that is serving non-vegetarian, they don't label that as a pure veg food. So there can be a restaurant which is serving non-vegetarian. It can have a different place to serve vegetarian. There we can use a different kadai, different ladle, different items. Of course, vegetarian, any non-veg restaurant serves vegetarian food in a very different place, but they don't even accept a food that comes out of a non-vegetarian restaurant as a pure vegetarian.
No, our calculation would be any place where animals are cooked would be considered impure.
Okay.
Because the food जैसा खायन वैसा होए मन, जैसे पिए वाणी वैसी होए बाणी, और जैसा करे संग वैसा होए रंग. So our concept is that who is cooking the food, where from the ingredients have been sourced, whether Vishay ranna khaile dushta hoy man, even the somebody has earned his the food has been earned with sinful money, that food will be considered contaminated. What to speak of in a place where animals are cooked, meat is cooked, is considered completely impure. And now coming to your question specifically, that they are cooking separately, it is separation is in the name. You know that same spoons are used very often, same pots and pans are used most often, and it's just that it's just separation sometime, most of the time is in name. That is why those who are strict vegetarians don't eat in a place, even if they have every hotel as restaurant has a vegetarian offering obviously, but wherever non-veg is cooked, strict vegetarians don't eat, because there are all chances of cross contamination.
Okay.
And even even if they have got totally separate setup, it's just that that place is one is not supposed to.
Okay. So what I understand from you, Swamiji, is so whatever pure vegetarians you are referring to, so they don't go to a non-vegetarian place normally. Also, it is there in the Indian cultural understanding from before. And you say that there even they assure that there are two different places, kitchens. There can always be a possibility of human error, maybe not intentional, but unintentionally some spoon which would have touched chicken, or some spoon which would have dipped in a chicken gravy can come land in your paneer gravy. This is
happens all the time.
So human error possibility. So you are supporting Zomato that okay, if they are adhering to the pure vegetarian class, he says that is already there in the Indian paradigm. You are not introducing anything new. We are glad that you have introduced. Now, what is the problem with the container in which it is transported? Okay, now you have made us believe that traditionally also we never ate in a non-vegetarian restaurant, being a vegetarian family. Now, dabba, what is the problem with the container?
Container, there is concept of purity, pure, impure. It's just that, shall I show you something?
Okay.
Scientific study is that when we talk of, let me just
there is a scientific study on this?
Not, I'm coming to that. Washing hand resets brain. Let me just, okay, now here you go. I have on Google, I have typed 4 words called, when we talk of Vedic concept of purity, cleanliness, hygiene, there are, okay, you wash hands with the soap, or what you call this disinfect, what it is called. During Corona we used those sanitizers, but there is something called, there are different levels of purity, concepts of purity.
Okay.
Purity of the mind, purity of the thing. So I am just typing here 4 words. Washing hands resets brain. So what I get is all Western researches, published in prominent journals and prominent words newspapers, news agencies. So when we wash hands, researchers at the University of Toronto Rotman School have found the act of washing your hand can actually reset your brain, clearing out old ideas and making way for new and improved ones. Cleanliness has direct impact on your brain. So I remember in our family, in our house, every time we entered home, of course, Corona has brought this concept back now. Every time you entered kitchen, you are supposed to wash your hands. Anything you touch in home, wash your hand. Go wash your hand. Go wash your hand. We used to hear at least 50 times. As a result, we always carry, whenever we happen to touch our, carry a small bottle of water, not
Okay.
to be a compulsive cleaner,
You
but
have that
it's
now?
it's there with, anytime you happen to touch your, let's say lips or your nose,
Even when you scratch your private parts or something like that.
something. So idea is to actually wash your hand. Okay, it's always there. Cleanliness, you see the effect of, I'm just giving you a sample. When a container has, whenever you carry food, there will be spillover. Clean place, unclean place, these are all, actually there are dimensions. We want to today make everything as one, everything is okay. No, it doesn't work. So there are places, the container which has been, it will impact your consciousness immediately. Just like I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada, our founder, is in Mayapur. In his room, he ordered a recently joined servant to fetch him water. So water for his tilak. Now he went and just came back quickly with and actually the tap where you supposed to collect is a little far. So he said, how you came back in 10-15 seconds on his Achman cup? He said, I was just, beside him was a toilet. So toilet tap is taken. So Prabhupada said, why did you bring water from the toilet tap? You should have gone downstairs where there is a general tap. He said, Prabhupada, this is the same water is coming in toilet tap and same water is coming in the tap outside. Prabhupada said, consciousness is different. Now in toilet also, now when we talk of toilet consciousness, now the research you type Google, that toilet, when you flush, entire your feces are fine sprinkles, all those spread all over. I'm telling you that my point is, now on this point there are so many things which are actually have been actually confirmed by modern science, by modern studies. On this reset of brain by washing hand itself, I'm talking of like 100 posts related to how
But how authentic is this information, Swamiji?
I don't know, this all Western science. So you got to ask those researchers. They are not Hindus, by the way. So I'm talking right here. There's hundreds of articles on that. Compulsive this. I tell you, hand washing. Let's say 8 surprising psychological benefits of hand washing by Science Tech Daily. Now cleaning hands reboots brain. Of course, we have say washing hands refreshes our minds. So
But I heard this is an obsessive compulsive disorder to wash hands every time you touch something.
so then why Corona time you asked everybody to wash hands?
It was for a reason, because that is a sticky virus and it can contaminate, cross contamination.
So now there is no other virus other than Corona. Now all viruses are
Swamiji,
gone.
I'll be very blunt.
Acha.
This is we are heading in a modern generation. So you are obsessed about few things,
And shall I ask you one thing before you ask your question? We are heading, you said modern times, right? We are into modern times. So what is modern? Can you define that? What is modern today?
Okay, in this context, modern means acceptability, and so we have accepted everybody in the society.
For me, let me tell you, there is nothing modern other than a degraded, degenerated mindset. Because 100 years back, people were eating, rice, dal, whatever, or wheat or whatever, chapatis. Today we are doing same thing, isn't it? 100 years back, sun was rising from the where?
East.
Today?
From east.
East. 100 years back, people were dying.
Amenities, infrastructure, mindsets, acceptability, social
Nothing has
change in
changed.
social paradigm.
So, when we change should be for the good,
Okay,
not for the
Swamiji.
worse.
Now I have seen, we have done multiple podcasts on civilizational challenges. So you are telling us we are not really heading ahead. We are actually going back because we don't know the implications of so-called development. Agreed. So you showed us a lot of water crisis, this, that. But my question here is, you are justifying, washing hands, resetting brain. You want to convince me that yes, there is a purity in the box. A box that has delivered pork, that has delivered beef, that has delivered chicken. If somebody eats a potato, jeera aloo out of that box, or a dal makhani out of that box, what does it carry? I want to understand from. So what are you trying to? What does that carry? The nutritional deficiency happens when you eat dal makhani from that box.
Practicality. You believe that whenever something is carried, a package which has non-veg, definitely when the packing is done, there will be some some food crumbs or something on the package. It's quite likely.
Yes.
It's quite likely when you carry something, there will be spillovers or crumbs.
Yeah, there can be a
now,
spillage.
When there is in the same box, you've got a vegetarian package, and now the same crumbs and everything or some leftovers, whatever,
can touch your vegetarian box,
or they can cling to the box.
They can cling to the box.
And now, when you with same hands open your vegetarian whatever, there is likelihood of cross contamination.
So it is in your brain, and
is it? I'm just talking the physical aspect.
There is definitely there, but okay. So this is we consider this as a little fanatism,
Well,
but the chances of that are rare, and human should have some acceptability.
Acceptability. थोड़ा बहुत chicken चला गया ठीक है, mutton चला गया ठीक है, थोड़ा.
No, not.
You see, our concept is.
No, Swamiji, you tell us, okay, this is one idea that there can be some spillage sometimes, and then somebody touches that, and there are some fair chances, okay, in a out of 100, out of 500 cases, there can be one chance. But I'm asking you from a vegetarian brain, how does a vegetarian brain think this? You feel there is some negative energy that that distorts the aura of your food, or what is running in your mind,
Yes,
everything you can't prove from only science, because science today has not answered many things. Right. Tomorrow they may answer some new things. Totally, but what runs in your mind?
Totally, the food aura changes, the energy changes, and food is what actually your food, prana or your mind, mana, all these things are formed out of food. So purity of food. Traditionally, the non-vegetarian food, the idea is that as soon as you eat animals, your body becomes a crematorium. Samshan Ghat. How? And Samshan Ghat, if you remember, whenever a relative is taken to Samshan Ghat, again this concept is here, that you are supposed to, we take bath with the cloths. Even cloths we don't enter home easily. I mean, just like that, and we take first bath with the cloths after visiting a crematorium. Now the idea is dead bodies, have contamination, even if from scientific point of view. So when somebody eats non-veg animals, those animals in the Jatragni, we have a funeral fire is here. So animals, they burn in our fire of our digestion. So where dead bodies are burnt, called a crematorium. And as soon as you visit a crematorium, you are supposed to come and take shower with the cloths are also. So the same way, when you have dead animals are eaten and they burn in the fire of, the whole body, the whole existence becomes a crematorium. Impure. That is why if you see the history, many of our kingdoms, animal eating was not within the city walls. No animal eating was allowed. That was beyond the city walls.
That is among Rajputs, no, Swamiji.
No, I am talking there. There were kingdoms, there were cities where within this meat, tamasic foods will not enter those cities.
Yeah, I once visited Udaipur, and
Ah.
then there I have seen a Rajputs, kingly family's house, and they had a different kitchen, not so.
No, I am talking
whenever-
city walls. I am talking city walls
Oh,
actually.
that is an information for me, but I've
Yeah,
certainly
I've-
seen what you have
I've
said, that
seen
when a
that.
king goes hunting, or even in the modern paradigm, if a person Rajput wants to eat lal mas or something.
Kings were allowed hunting because there were two reasons for that. One is the hunting was allowed because to protect those hermits who are living in hermitages. There were hermitages in forest to protect them from wild animals.
But why would
violent
somebody
animals.
kill a deer and eat deer? It's not a wild
Now
animal.
I'm coming to that.
Hmm.
Kshatriyas, those Kshatriyas are meant to deal with violence. So as soon as you see the blood, and then you freak out. The idea is Kshatriyas are trained in killing. So this was like medical practitioners. They have to practice on cadavers, or even live, or science labs. You have experiments on frogs or whatever. So that way Kshatriyas were allowed this violence as a practice.
Then why innocent herbivorous animals like deers and stuff? Why
Yeah,
you can
so
go
that
killing,
was part of
you can
their-
go killing cheetahs and eat them, no?
Yeah, so they were allowed because that their job demanded violence. So violence was part of their their training setup.
Okay.
But
So
yeah.
got it, Swamiji. So what you are telling is you believe. See, we need not have to prove everything from science. From a psychological point of view,
Okay.
a vegetarian should be respected. Like non-vegetarian. So and
that
and
is
vegetarian, if he wants his container that a vegetarian food is carried for him should come from a pure. So my question is there any reality in the consumer psychology, or you are planting a seed in him about all these things? Is my question.
No, there is
If there is an existing culture and you are letting that go, then I have no problem. But are you
Yes.
making a culture is my question.
No. So let me tell you that there is a concept of kitchen purity.
Hmm.
There was a cook was sometime cook many times a cook, they will cook with wet cloths called muddy,
Hmm.
and they would not allow, like we have seen in our family, right, Rajasthani families, Maharaj we used to call them,
Hmm.
and that cook will not allow any other, even family members, to touch at whims anything. And he would take shower and so kitchen was considered, and the concept of that one should not unnecessarily contaminate things. And then while serving, you see, the serving has to be done from a distance. Like don't touch it is called jutha or contaminated. So those pots will not come back to kitchen. They go to washing areas. And when you serve anything, you don't touch the plate with your spoon, serve from a distance. So contamination, we were taught, I can just frankly share that there are two types of contamination. Whenever you touch your lips or mouth, anything, that's called jutha. And there is a contamination of toilet, that's considered a higher contamination. So whenever anything related to commode is touched, or the faucet or whatever, toilet, so for that touching, there was a higher, you need to wash with, there used to be another place where mud was there. So that required a compulsory soap, mud, basically mud, and later on apartments you can't have, so soap concept came. So that was considered, and any other thing, washing normal hand is okay. Kitchen, jutha. So there is a what you call, that's a tradition. And non-veg was has been a strictly no-go, where anything that is touches non-veg or whatever. So now that can be taken in what you call a cultural context, that can be taken as I feel also has a scientific dimension to it. So yes, that is not something new what Zomato has done.
So they're following the plethora, they're following the trend that
Tradition, yes, that's the tradition. Who is actually handling what, and that is the tradition. And even you see, there have been cases where cook's consciousness is transferred into. Now I'll explain it. For example, in our case, that we consider, cook who is cooking. You can see that when you have your mother or your wife cooks at home, and when you have outside food. Point is, why mother's food is appreciated by one and all, because there is some love has been put. It's the same ingredients. So consciousness, and the restaurant, what they do is they are cooking for profit. And here when mother cooks, the cooking is out of love. So there will be difference. So all these considerations were there. Who is cooking? And food has been bought with my earning, but earnings are sinful or not, righteous or sinful. They are also to extend to that extent. So there were all these kinds of considerations were there, because they have a direct bearing on the consciousness. And the purpose of human life was attaining higher and higher consciousness. And if the food was considered the biggest contaminant. One may be doing always all kinds of sadhana, one may be practicing all kinds of spiritual practices, but if the food is contaminated at some stage, whatever stage, then actually the progress will be checked.
Swamiji, you are going into a very finer aspects and very technical aspects, but everybody is not a Swamiji like you. So a normal human being living in the society has to survive eating food from anybody's hand, because he's traveling. I come from a sales background, so I need to travel cities, and I stay in 5-star 4-star hotels. So so all that is not practical, but you are telling that there is a real science existing behind all of this that your ancestors have followed, which for so-called convenience we are not following these days. But that has reality, or it is just in your brain? That's my thing, is this entire purity.
No, everything purity is, these are all perceivable. You can perceive that. You eat what is cooked, let's say in our temples, for few months or 1 month, and see the difference, how your mind is more peaceful. Everything has got an impact. So coming to your question of that, what is practical today? Yes, you are traveling. Yes, you are. But this is very, very easy. Segregation is very easy. It's nothing radical. Okay, you can have a separate box. It's no, sky is not coming down crashing. For that is something you can still implement. Like you are traveling. Now there is a whole range of, every Paris, London, you see, everywhere there are vegan restaurants,
Yeah.
So it is possible, and it is, they
definitely
they are very strict. In a vegan restaurants that I have come across, they won't let, anything of animal origin inside,
Right. If you have a will, you have a way.
Even there will be no upholstery, will have no leather,
Yeah,
to that extent.
Yeah, where there is a will, there is a way.
There is a way like that.
So, wonderful, Swamiji. So you tried convincing me. Not everything from scientific, but so your take on the Zomato issue is, yes, there is there is an individuality and independence for a vegetarian taker also. So you can't force things on a vegetarian mindset, vegetarian cultural background, because we have been doing something like this from the past. So if somebody is respecting a vegetarian ideology, vegetarian ideas, and he's trying to implement, what's harm in that?
Exactly,
Because a non-vegetarian has his independence.
And end of the day, I should add,
Hmm.
end of the day, there is violence, higher levels of violence in non-vegetarian diet. There is lot of pain, there is lot of agony that is there when an animal is slaughtered compared to a plant, obviously. So there is, it is said, this is my birthright. Your right is what to eat, not who to eat.
Yeah. But to to have a liberty of what to eat, I have to live.
Liberty, what to eat, not who to eat. So animals, every animal is an individual.
Yeah.
He or she got a family, and he or she wanted to live. And even an ant is an individual. Rats, they become, rats become attached, so much so when the owner is there is a separation, the rats refuse to eat pet rats. So there is more to what meets the eye, basically.
Wonderful, Swamiji. A very new take on the entire this
Zomato
controversy. It's a very, very unique way. But definitely what I feel, my opinion after hearing you is, so as a vegetarian mindset, you have an understanding of what should be done and how it should be done and how it has to be delivered. So if some company is giving importance to your emotions and sentiments, what's wrong in that?
Exactly.
Because the non-vegetarian sentiment is no way hurting in this entire, in the entire process. It is the vegetarian who is getting a better feel. Thank you so much for your spiritual take on this subject, Swamiji. Hare Krishna.